welcome. You're watching Digital Disruptors. I am Kalpana Singhal, Editor-in-Chief CXO TV, and we have Amrita Chowdhury, co-founder and director GAIA, as our guest today. GAIA is an IoT plus AI enterprise SaaS company providing insights as a service and service orchestration for smart sites and smart cities. Welcome, Amrita.
Wonderful to be here.
We appreciate you for taking out time and joining us today. Please introduce yourself to the CXO TV audience.
I started out as an engineer, IIT Kanpur, UC Berkeley, worked in innovation in Silicon Valley for a few years initially. Then did my MBA, moved into strategy consulting, in the US, in Australia, then moved back to India, was heading different growth stage companies. I've veered for a bit in the middle from a tech domain into heading non-tech companies as well, and then came back with friends with GAIA. And our aim when we looked at GAIA and GAIA was founded was that a lot of companies, a lot of enterprises have to look at optimizing and orchestrating and streamlining national level or multi-site level distributed operations, and what sorts of tools and technologies are can be brought together to create solutions for this. So that was really what was driving us, and that's what has taken us on our journey today to where we are.
So what surprises you most about your job?
It's the level of passion and perseverance that is required day in and day out. And though I've been in tech before and I have headed companies before, the level of perseverance and passion that is required is way different, right? So because it's your business, you do have the ability to shape it in certain ways, which is fantastic. But you also have to have your receptors on to look at what clients are saying, what markets are saying, so that you quickly you're very agile in changing course as need be, because that's what you need as a startup. And in terms of perseverance, I think when you emerge from large companies and into a startup domain, and it's your own startup, then that you need to continue day in and day out, because establishing a business, it's like a long-term race, right? And you need the perseverance, you need the stamina, you need the determination to go through the troughs, to chase or aim for the peaks and keep on going, right? So every day is a new day in that sense, and that's what has surprised me, the amount of resilience that you develop, and the amount of resilience that you're able to draw upon from within yourself.
As a person, what has been your greatest accomplishment?
At a personal level, I think my greatest accomplishment has been my ability to bring together my multiple passions and to ensure that I find a space for them in life. So if I look back to way back when I was getting into my MBA, one of the things and this is the kind of question that you get asked, what is it that you would want to do? And I think I had said that I wanted to influence not just business but society and the world around me. And I think in many different ways, through different roles over different periods of time, sometimes a few of them together, sometimes at distinct time periods, I've been able to do and weave all of that together. So if I look at my my passion for example, creativity and writing, so I've published books, I've headed publishing and design marketing companies. I do actually like technology, and I like that interplay of technology and business. So I've worked in that, and I continue to work in that. I'm on a few corporate boards. I have my family, I have my children. So I think there's social causes that I'm associated with. So I think it all comes together.
Yeah, so that's quite interesting about you. And all right, so what are the solutions and services in GAIA portfolio?
an ops tech company, which means that we're looking at streamlining the operations of what we call connected sites. And in our parlance, connected site is any, a place, a building, a warehouse, a hospital, transportation hub, a railway platform, a railway coach, or a city. Any of these can be a site, and a site brings together the site itself, the assets and equipment that go in the site, and the people who operate the site, right? And what we have is a platform. It's a unified platform which brings together IoT and digital tools. We go from monitoring and measuring to insights to the orchestration of the operations of these sites that we're talking about. And the whole idea is that there's the last minute, last mile operations matters, right? That's where things happen. That's where a business interacts with its customer. That's where a product is in a warehouse, or in a a person is in a train and moving from place A to place B. So experiences or processes or the performance of a business really depends on that last mile through hardware and IoT solutions, as well as digital and automation, workforce and workflow automation solutions. We're bringing it all together into one platform. We bring the last mile into the boardroom. And the beautiful thing is that operations, it cuts across many industries. So hence, we see our clients, cutting across different industries. And so that's in a nutshell what we're doing. As a SaaS company, we're essentially, the ingredient technologies are IoT, which was hardware, so it's connected edge devices, sensors, and so on, and the software solutions that go along with it, as well as the workforce management, which is a digital platform only, right? So the way we sell it is that it's not really just about data. It's not just about the insight that we're delivering, but what do you do with that data? How can I use that data, which might be coming from a machine, from a sensor, from a user, from people, from the operations team, staff themselves? How do I bring all of that data together, synthesize it, generate some insights, generate what's working, what's not working, from those alerts or from that data, then trigger the next set of workflows and tasks that need to be done, right? So it's the whole idea of taking service orchestration as a service, or cognitive automation, as we are calling it, as a service, and bringing that to our clients. We've made it very simple to deploy and to use. So for a new client, we're really able to map what are their processes, what are the areas of intervention or automation that we will put through, and then very quickly take them from deployment to starting to use the system. Our solutions, because these are you're impacting operations, so it's really a day in, day out kind of a service. So our clients would be there with us for a year, a couple of years for sure, so that we're helping them move the needle and bring visibility and also bring accountability and so on.
Who are your marquee customers and what are their use cases?
Things that we're delivering is really a connected site and a connected workforce, which cuts across industries, right? And it's become even more critical in the post-COVID environment because of a few, complementary and contrasting reasons. So one is that there is a whole move towards having digital, remote, automated operations. At the same time, service level expectations have not gone down. Safety and hygiene expectations have gone up. And there are limitations on workforce, or there is less availability of workforce because there's really a shortage of people, or social distancing is required, or what have you. So essentially, businesses need to become more productive, right? They need to become digital, they need to become remote, and they need to become connected. The operations, the operational processes need to be connected digitally, so that fewer people can do the work and perform at a higher level of organizational performance or productivity. So this is why ops tech as a service is becoming critical now. So we see our clients as large hospitals, large facilities management companies, building operators, retail, logistics, warehousing. So any place where there is a building and people and equipment come together is who our client is. We also have a lot of clients in transport, so airports, railways, and not just the transport hubs like the railway station, but onboard service orchestration for Indian Railways, for example, is also something that we are doing. And what we've also been able to do very successfully is to take these solutions which are enterprise ready and use them in a city setting also, because there's a lot of governance monitoring that needs to happen in the government domain, because government is delivering services to citizens, and those services either need to be digitalized, which we are enabling, or they need to be monitored using both IoT and digital monitoring tools. So again, that's one way that we're taking it to the cities domain as well.
The COVID-19 pandemic and the new normal have changed the way we do things, from everyday activities like grocery shopping to how large industries function. So with all these factors like maintaining hygiene, social distancing, etc., in such a scenario, being a smart city solution provider, what is GAIA's contribution towards fighting against this pandemic?
What we were able to do very quickly during the pandemic is to take our solution, which was being used in hospitals for workflow automation and for workforce and service orchestration of tasks, the non-clinical operational tasks of running and managing a hospital. So that system, we were able to take it to the city domain. We worked with the city of Agra. In the early days of the lockdown, we helped them progressively through the period. Initially, digitalizing a lot of the last mile, about 800 odd retailers across the 100 wards of Agra were brought online through our platform, so that essential services could be orchestrated. This was at the peak of the lockdown, and obviously as things opened, then we helped them with emergency response management services, so people could raise requests through an Agra Sarvam app on help that they needed about getting medication, getting to a doctor, reporting a COVID case in their family, reporting somebody in their neighborhood. They might need fumigation, what have you. So we were able to help citizens raise requests, and through our the AI platform in the middle, we were able to allocate the request to respondents who were from Agra Civil Defense Team, and they were then accepting kind of like Uber, they were accepting the requests and going and meeting the needs of whatever the citizen was asking for. And then from there we've expanded it and helped them bring some of their utilities services online, digitalize them, so smart water and smart sewage management and things like that. We've helped digitalize those services as well for them. So yeah.
All right, so what are the key technology solutions used by GAIA, and what are their use cases?
Starting from IoT, we have IoT gateways, which requires embedded systems and firmware over the air, and we are able to create a mesh using different IoT devices, so that if you have a large format space, then you don't need multiple devices, but you can have the mesh devices and the gateways, and reach out, fan across a larger space. We are able to deal with different communication technologies from 2G, 3G, 4G, Bluetooth, wireless, LoRaWAN, and now we are trialing out something with satellite connectivity as well. So there's different edge intelligence and edge communication technologies that we use at the IoT gateway itself, which connects to different kinds of sensors. And the sensors are then able to get data either from machines or from the ambient itself. So temperature, humidity, the number of people walking in and out. So these are all different kinds of sensors that we can put in there. From the workforce management perspective, real-time location service is an ingredient technology. So you need to know where people are and what they're doing. We have a set of cognitive AI algorithms which are used for facial recognition, fraud detection, and so on. All of it then comes together into these digital apps and the platform itself, which brings data from both sensors and from users. So it's able to bring in two different kinds of data streams and do a lot of big data analytics on it, live streaming data analytics, rapid visualization, GIS-based reporting. We have algorithms at the cloud level itself, which are AI machine learning algorithms for optimization, for task allocation, for orchestration. So all of it really needs to come together seamlessly, because at the end of the day, we are either helping our clients or enterprises monitor the site, the building, the operational site, or the workforce, or help the workforce do certain tasks or processes with more automation and with digital tools, right? So everything needs to come together and it's stitched together into one unified solution.
Right. So what are the main challenges in smart city deployments?
There are a few India-specific challenges that we face, because it's a tougher environment to operate in because of the harsh, not just the weather conditions and so on, but there can be power disruptions on the field. There can be signal disruptions on the field. So there's a lot of communication and power related challenges that you need to counter, especially in a city or a large enterprise context. The problem, it's a solution that we are offering, right? That you don't know what is happening at the last mile. You don't know if your last mile worker is doing what they're doing. And if they do their tasks properly, then the organization as a whole will function well. So the data rolls up. So the minute you start putting in either sensors or digital tools to enable all of this, you start seeing the data. You start seeing the gaps. You start seeing who's performing, who's not performing, who's on time, who's not on time. A task was supposed to be done in 20 minutes. It got done in 2 hours, right? So all of this starts becoming very apparent. So there is sometimes, because of this fuzzy data or lack of data, there is loss of accountability in the government and in large enterprises. So you have your strategic vision, which says, okay, I need to do certain things in a certain way. But at the last mile, when the work is happening, or at the last asset, you don't know the condition, you don't know the performance. And, so in a way, we are solving for that particular problem, right? And to solve for the connectivity and the power surge problem, you just need to become a lot more robust. Your operations, the operations of running OpsTech needs to become a lot more, intricate, but also smart, so that we are able to do some configuration and remote troubleshooting and all of that, so that we can, that reduces our own cost of delivery, right? So there are many different things that you need to consider when you're looking at a city solution or a distributed solution, which is looking at an enterprise customer and multiple sites of the customer that needs to come together onto a common platform, and make sure that you're ahead of the game in solving for it.
Absolutely. So how are industrial automation projects leveraging on IoT?
Industrial automation and a lot of the equipment that go into infrastructure today has already become very smart, right? So which means that there's a lot of information that is coming inbuilt with these large pieces of equipment where IoT used to be there before. So today, IoT really has transformed to see, okay, what are the gaps which are not being captured by the larger equipment or infrastructure, equipment that is there in buildings or in operations, and fill in the gaps through additional data acquisition. But also, what do you do with this plethora of data, right? You have all of these machines which are generating data by the seconds, and it's all coming in. So this is where the entire automation and orchestration platform comes in, that we're able to take in data from these different streams, analyze it, see what is happening, where are the gaps, are we meeting performance levels, are we not meeting performance levels, can we see that performance level is dipping, and hence I need to take some preventive or proactive action now, which means I need to generate some triggers and alerts to some last mile people who will then go and do the task that requires to be done at the last mile, right? So all of this needs to be seamlessly orchestrated. So you're really building on industrial, the large scale industrial automation that is there, and you're taking it to this seamless machine people interaction through this OpsTech platform, right? And and that to some extent is the future where man and machine comes together, and we're looking at organizational productivity and saving business costs, and reducing lags or delay in responses, or improving the lifetime or of machines and so on, so that you improve the business profitability or the business drivers at the end.
Yeah. So most IoT projects fail because there is no proper marriage between IT and OT. While IT succeeds, what are the measures to put OT in place?
That's sort of exactly the space that we are in, because if you're looking at operations tech and OpsTech, really it's IT and OT from a technology perspective need to come together, right? So you need to have OT would mean all your the IoT devices, the sensors, the streaming data, and the IT is from the people, and bringing them together and delivering the insights and delivering the orchestration. But there are two elements, two key elements why things fail, and it is not because of technology. Technology, I think over the last few years, it has become, a lot, I think stronger, your component technologies that come in terms of the connectivity, solutions which are there, the hardness of solutions has really improved over time. But it really fails because of two things. Right? So one is related to this whole idea of integration or synthesis, right? And the other is related to people. So the idea of synthesis is that a company today or an enterprise or even a city client really doesn't want 20, 30 different streams of data and not know what to do with it, or have 20 individual solutions running and trying to draw inferences from each one, right? So you need to be able to stitch your solution into the business process of the organization, and be able to do that in a way which is very rapid, right? So it's not what we have is a SaaS platform, so we're really not it needs to be quick. It needs to be quick deployment, but you need to help people synthesize a lot of information and take action, right? And the action could be, I need a systemic improvement. I'm able to see how rate all the 20 people and see their productivity over a period of last 6 months, and see who's my better performer, who's not a good performer. I can see how my different machines in different parts of my building or across my national chain, for example, for Amul, we're monitoring their warehouses nationally. So they need to know how each warehouse is performing, and hence be able to look at their the third-party warehouse owners, and the quality of the product needs to be assured through that distribution chain, right? So you need to be able to stitch that information together, which means you need to synthesize many technologies and you need to create that end-to-end solution. So that's the first thing, right? The second thing is the human factor of IT and OT, or any technology for that matter, right? And people need to adopt it. And adoption fails because of two things. One is that your interfaces, where people are interacting with your solution, they are clunky. They are not user-friendly, right? And then people find it difficult to adopt. So the solution really needs to be that easy at the last mile, so that the last mile frontline worker can also use it. But there's enough complexity packed into it so that at the CEO level, they are able to infer a lot of information and get some performance parameters so that they're able to take action, corrective action, responsive action, predictive action, whatever action they need to take, right? So it needs to be seamless at both ends, at the CEO level and at the frontline worker level, right? And so that's a design question, right? Your interface design and all of that, needs to be really good. And then the second thing is motivation and alignment of motivation, and a lot of projects fail because of that. So it is not really because the technology was not good, it was because people felt threatened by it. If people feel threatened by it, they will not adopt it. If they don't adopt it, there will not be enough data to prove that it was effective and efficacious and it had an impact, right? So you need to make sure that everybody is in the journey of digitalization, of using a new technology. It's not scary, it's easy to use, and you're not using data to penalize people, but and you may, organizations, obviously, if you're looking at productivity of people, you will have certain decisions that come out of it. But as you're rolling out, you need to tell people that they can be rewarded through it also, right? Because it's very easy when you're bringing in productivity of people or productivity of different locations or sites or functions or so on, you're able to see how people are performing, and you can use it to motivate them to work better. And then that becomes a driver for alignment. So alignment at the line staff level, alignment at the CEO level, again, that's fairly critical.
Right. So what are the key focus areas for GAIA in the next 18 to 24 months?
I think we're at a stage where, the product is fairly robust, it's fairly seamless, and we have taken it to multiple different kinds of clients, and it's running at scale over extended periods of time for multiple very large clients that we have across. So the idea now is to further twofold. One is to enrich the product a little bit more, to add in more analytics, to improve the AI algorithms that we have. So really improve the feature sets, improve the functionality, improve the analytics, the reporting, the visual outputs that we provide to our customers. So all of that. But increasingly, our focus is to take the company global. So I'll be very honest, when we started out, we were really looking at seeing how we can use technology to transform India and Bharat, right? And we worked a lot in that. And so we have made sure that our products are hardy to cope with the really harsh requirements that India and Bharat requires. But at the same time, we are seeing that these problems cut across geographies, they cut across locations, across use cases. And we are seeing interest in global markets, right? So now a lot of focus is on taking it to global markets. We have set up an entity in the US, so obviously in that market, but also in other markets, South America, Middle East, and so on. That we're looking at how do we take the solution, which has potential to be from India but for the world, and take it to market.
That was nice, Amrita. It was a complete pleasure interacting with you today. Thank you so much for joining us on CXO TV.
Thank you for calling me on CXO TV. It was really a pleasure to be here, and wonderful having this conversation.